Ilford SFX 200. This is my first thoughts. Seeing that this is the first roll I shot with it, I don't want to call this a review. This shouldn't really be a review. I don't think the situations were quite controlled enough for this to be a review. I think that the results at least came out good enough for this to be maybe even a before you buy. Before you buy works. So kicking off the video, I really wanted to start it with some of my least favorites from the roll, kind of get them out the way. These are just a couple I shot around Old Newcastle. Now, as far as these shots in town went, I feel like they're hit or miss. The the steeple going up with the tree above it, I did essentially no adjustments other than inverting the negative. I think it came out really well with the orange filter, and it still rendered good shadow detail. I mean, granted, the sun was kind of blasting it, but it did come out really well. I really like the shadow of the trees and the loss of detail there. To contrast this, I'm gonna put the picture of the side of the house with the chimney. Same thing, tall, narrow subject, the trees coming down. The difference here that I really liked, though, it was shot in the evening. The way the sun was hitting, at least the angle that the sun was coming from, you can get the highlights out on the side of the sun hitting it, but there's a stark difference between the highlights being hit and the shadow of the tree, since I was shooting from below. So this film with a filter, very contrasty. I like it. I did boost the contrast in this shot compared to the steeple to try and get a similar effect. I think it came out super well. Detail on the brick is great. You can really make out the texture well. Obviously, compositionally, artistically, you're not going to put this in an art museum, but as far as comparing, contrasting these two shots, I think it did really well.
I guess a little update. I'm really enjoying shooting at 50 ISO. I'm having fun.
So this shot, looking out at the reeds to what I'm assuming is an apartment complex out in the background, I thought this was going to be one of the best shots on the roll. I exposed for mids. Again, orange filter. I shot at 50 ISO, but I don't know if it was the harsh sunlight. I don't know if it was the yellow reeds and a white and red building and the silver and rusted metal fence on the right side. I don't know if maybe that blew it out or what the case was, but I feel like this shot, when I scanned it, was just super blown out, lost a ton of highlight details, and it took a good bit of adjusting to try and get it to be passable, because it really was, I was struggling to get it to look good. I mean, even like I exposed for the mids so I can get the little goose in the bottom. There was like 2 geese just hanging out by themselves. And you can barely make it out. I don't know. I don't really know what happened there. But, yeah, win some, you lose some. Looking at these beach shots, I think that they have a pretty decent latitude. When the sun was hitting directly on the side of the houses, and I was exposing for the mids, they did blow out really bad, and it did take... So sorry. So the side of the house did blow out really bad, and it took some correction in Lightroom, but I think the results are still pretty usable. But this shot of what I'm assuming is a drainage pipe going out, the birds up on the foreground, and then the tiny little ship in the background, I think came out really good. Exposure latitude was great. This was shot at 50 ISO, basically facing the sun. I think the detail in the shadows was saved just enough that you can still make out what it is. As far as like an artistic vision, I like to lose some shadow detail. So as far as achieving what I was hoping to, it delivered. It came out really well. So I was really pleased with how I got the results from it in that sense. There was an old man fishing, fully camoed out. took a quick shot of him. I think it was like f/16 at a 60th of a second. Completely lost all shadow detail. Could make out highlights on the water, highlights in the sky. I like the shot personally. It's a little distracting. I did have to crop it down to square, so you didn't see too much of the foreground. Fun to experiment with, but definitely not a carry around every day, especially not for, what is it now, $13 a roll, something like that. So these ones were in the fenced-in area with the little shack. This was right at sunrise, but the clouds were sitting really low on the horizon. It was hard to get a fireball in the center of our galaxy to cooperate. I know. I'm incompetent. But I should have just been patient and waited.
I should have been patient. I should have waited for the sun.
These were actually shot with the red filter. I can't remember the exact exposure time off the top of my head, but I feel like they came out a bit soft. That was probably just me missing focus on the rangefinder, but they definitely didn't look how I expected them to be. Now, when I adjusted and the sun came out, I shot handheld, I want to say f4 at a 60th of a second, to try and save a little bit of the shadow details, but I really had to bring the highlights down because it blew out super bad.
This was redemption for me, honestly. I would say best shot on the roll by far.
Overall, I'm not here to give this film a rating. I think you should go out and use it, buy a roll, maybe even two. Try it with an R72 filter if Ilford says that's okay. Don't hold me accountable if nothing comes out. I still have to try that, but I did only have one roll, so I won't be revisiting this for a little bit. In the future, I am going to do a Rolly Superpan 200 video with an R72 filter. I'm going to look at it with orange and red first, R72 last, then I'm going to get another roll of SFX 200, compare and contrast, not so much to kind of pit them against each other, but to kind of see what their use cases are in a more controlled environment. I really want to see where the near infrared film economy is going. So I forgot to record an outro for this, but I hope you like this format of video. I don't know how many more reviews I'll do, but stay tuned for some experiments, maybe even some more weird film reviews, and something along the lines of some travel photography. I'm going to try and rotate them out the best I can, but thank you again. Bye.